Welcome to Unity of Charlotte, where our mission is to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I am delighted to be with you today, and so pleased that you joined us on Zoom or YouTube. Let's start today by sharing our statement of oneness, and let that lead us into our opening prayer. There is one presence and one power in the universe, God, the good, omnipotent. And relax in place and take a deep breath and prepare for our opening prayer. I know there is one life, one divine energy. That life restores, renews, and flows through me. I live this life right now. Life calls me forward to experience security, peace, and freedom. And I embrace this, and I breathe deeply and with ease. I pray that all voters are able to freely and safely express their choice in the voting booth, that our elections and the outcome of those elections are harmonious and accepted by all. I know that our United States fully expresses itself as peace and harmony, truly united as the land of the free. I use my well-directed thoughts and prayers in harmony with this idea. I refuse to be moved by fear, conflict, anger, violence. I remain steadfast in envisioning and meditating and praying forth the high idea of a harmonious United States that supports freedom for all and whose policies and actions include all. I know this, that peace begins with me, that my inner world is reflected in the outer world. I move the realization, peace, forward. I think peace to express peace. I let go of confusion. I let go of being upset. I let go of little petty things. I embrace a life of peace for myself and for all. And I commit today and in the days to come to see God in each human being. I live as connected to spirit and also encourage others in this way. I am filled with gratitude, knowing that peace and harmony prevail in my life, in this election, and throughout the United States and around the globe. I am grateful that I am an integral part of this powerful prayer, the same prayer that encircles the globe and reaches back to me and all my loved ones. And join with me in saying, and so it is. Amen.
And so it is.
Thank you again for being with us this morning. And welcome to you who are joining us on Zoom. And I bet you love that extra hour of sleep. I know I did. And we opened that Zoom link a little bit ahead of time so that you can chat. And I'm so glad that we've had Reverend Rob and Volker with us already, speaking to us with lovely words of wisdom, even in advance of our service this morning. And do stay with us on Zoom after the service, because we'll also be chatting a bit more. And those of you that join us on YouTube, please do subscribe and like so that you can find us again and others can find us as well. Our normal Sundays will have other programs that will include children, and we look forward to that day soon. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, please reach out to us through our link at our website and make your prayer request. We eagerly await your prayer requests for anything that's urgent or anything that just makes your spiritual path or your life easier. And we're grateful for each and every one of your requests, because truly we are one and we are in service to you, our lovely congregation, and our spiritual connections, to pray for you and to pray for your loved ones. Please reach out and ask. It is our pleasure to serve you. You can also call Unity's telephone prayer ministry, Silent Unity, by reaching out to 800-NOW-PRAY for a affirmative prayer anytime, day or night. We have several announcements today. I'm pleased to announce that there will be a picnic today. And I'm knowing for some sunshine and some clearing weather and some warmth. And I know that we will be joined by the warmth of the people who are present, because this is a long-awaited event for us. And I'm grateful to Reverend Jim Fuller and Reverend Kay to have made this possible. I'll tell you a little bit more in a moment as to how to get to that picnic. There will be a Unity Town Hall meeting next Sunday, November 8th, right after service. It'll bring you all up to date on some pretty interesting and exciting events related to the sale of our property. So I know you're going to want to link into that and be there to hear all the news and also be part of our discussion about things that are relevant to Unity in Charlotte. We are seeking applications for the 2021 Board of Trustees. Please reach out to our wonderful board member, Chandan Singh, with your interest. His address is in this week's Unity email, but also, I'll say it right now, Chandan Singh, that's CSINGH2 @gmail.com. Email Chandan with any suggestions or thoughts you have for additional board members. We are eager to expand our board come January, and we would love your energy on our board. We are a warm and wonderful group. We are very open and welcoming, and we love to expand the talent on our board by having you as a part of it. So do please consider it seriously. We would love to have you. And now for the details on the picnic. The gathering will be at the Park Road Park. And I will tell you, we're going to be meeting on the baseball fields, the parking area overlooking the lake. There's a nice open area on the lake side of that lot where you can set up your lawn chairs. And the area is relatively flat and is wheelchair friendly. And the park restrooms, which I have been in, are clean and open and quite nice. So this is what you'll need to bring, and then I'll tell you which entrance to come in on. Bring your own folding chair. Bring a lunch or beverage if you would like. Bring a joke, a song, a short story to share. And please wear a mask, except for the reading, of course. And we will be maintaining social distancing, 6 feet apart. Now, how to get there? There are several entrances to the Park Road Park. The best one is just south of the intersection of Park Road and Typho Road. If you're using your GPS, you can use the Auto Bell wash site address, because that'll take you to the easiest and best entrance to enter. And so note this, that Auto Bell is 5606 Park Road. 5606, the Auto Bell, which takes you right to the entrance closest to that ball field area. Now, if you decide to come into the area near Archdale Drive, you'll need to go around the lake and across the small dams, really small. And then you'll see the baseball fields and the parking area on the right. But the easiest way in is that auto bell address at 5606 Park Road. I think that takes care of our announcements. I'll mention a few of the things that we have going on every single week. We do have a wonderful meditation hosted by Barbara Roll that occurs on Tuesday evenings at 7:15 via Zoom. And this is a wonderful opportunity for alignment and to pray together for the best for our church. And clearly it's already working, and you'll find out more next week on that. But it also, for me, is a centering space for my week, because the meditation is truly powerful, and the prayer and sharing time is also powerful. So do join us at 7:15. And if you're not already getting that Zoom link, you can get it by either emailing Barbara Rolf at barbara.rolf, R-U-L-F, @gmail.com, or me, Pat Drea, P-A-T-D-R-E-A, @gmail.com. We'll be glad to send you the link and try us out if you haven't done this before. I think you really like it. On Wednesday morning, we have a discourse about the healing letters from Myrtle Fillmore, and that is a lovely hour and a half discourse where we read part of the book and then we share our reflections on that. So that's Wednesday mornings at 10:30. And again, if you don't know or have the link, just email Barbara or me and we will send you the link. And happy to have you with us. Thursday morning at 9:30 is A Course in Miracles. Sunday afternoon is a book club, usually at 1 o'clock. Join them next week after the town hall meeting that we're having. So thank you for all of that. And I want to now introduce our wonderful speaker. Those of you that joined us about a month ago were able to hear Reverend Robin Volker on Unlock Your Mysterious Healing. And you already know then, if you joined us, what a powerful speaker and gifted teacher Reverend Robin is. I've since been able to learn more about her fascinating journey. Her involvement with Unity began as a personal one as she applied the Unity principles, which changed her life in the early 90s. And since then, her desire to share these principles with others has led her to an involvement in ministry, and she has assisted so many others in experiencing positive and lasting changes in their lives. I certainly have seen this by being part of her presentation, her service that she offered us about a month ago. Robin has also served in various capacities in Unity churches. In the early years, she served as a volunteer and a pioneer to open up the Unity Church in Blairsville, Georgia. She served as a minister in Central Ohio and returned a few years ago as senior minister in Blairsville, Georgia for about 5 years. She now offers her services as a guest speaker and consulting as well in support of Unity churches in the areas of policy development, special projects, and workshops. So I am delighted to introduce Reverend Robin and say thank you so many times over for being part of our Unity family and to share our November affirmation. So a very warm welcome back to Reverend Robin Volker.
Thank you, Reverend Pat. What a wonderful introduction. I appreciate that. I feel the warmth and love from your heart. My husband and I do live in Blairsville, Georgia. And we're happy to be joining you via Zoom this morning. So grateful to be here. I did serve in Gainesville, Georgia for those 5 years as senior minister. It's a little confusing that I live in one place and I served in another, but now I am based out of my home and happy to be a part of your service this morning. So thank you so much. Just a second here. I don't like all these Zoom buttons I have to push. Okay. Unity of Charlotte, I am not enabled to share my screen. If someone could hook me up from your end, I'll be happy to share the November affirmation. Okay, maybe we can't do that. So I will read it to you guys. With deep appreciation, I celebrate this day. Each day is a new opportunity to experience gratitude for my Creator's many gifts to me. Looking closely, I recognize the love and care of my Creator expressing itself in all parts of my life. With deep appreciation, I celebrate this day. What a wonderful way to begin. So today, I would like to talk to you about the invitation to come sit at God's table. And let's begin with a fable that tells a story of a man who arrives in heaven. He was shown into God's office and told to await his judgment. On one wall in the office was a huge picture window. And as the man looked out of the window, he saw crystal blue waters, beautiful green and brown land masses, and that picture that we have seen of Earth from space. And he was mesmerized at the beauty that he saw there from this perspective. On the desk by the window, he noticed a pair of eyeglasses. And he wonders to himself, I wonder if these are God's glasses. So he looks around to make sure that no one is in the room or watching him, and he puts the glasses on. And then he looks out the picture window again, and what he sees is startling. He sees all of the problems and evils of humanity. He sees people hurting people, people hurting the land, evil, corruption, hostility, anger, violence. And while he is processing his emotions of anger and disgust, he hears a voice behind him that says, "Take off those glasses." Immediately, he turns around, he takes the glasses off, his head is down. He is certain that he has done wrong and will be punished. And then the voice becomes softer, and it asks, "What did you see when you looked through those glasses?" And the man says, "Oh, it was terrible. I saw hate and corruption and all kinds of evil." And the voice asks, "What did you feel when you saw those things? Did you feel love and compassion? Or did you feel hate and disgust? And the man answered, oh, I felt hate and disgust. It was terrible, those things I saw. And if it was up to me, I would destroy the whole thing and start over and have absolutely no regrets. And then the voice of God said, kindly and slowly, then you are not ready to see through my glasses. You are not ready to look upon the world through the eyes of God. When you can see the world through love and compassion, then you are seeing it as I do. Go back to earth for another lifetime and look for that love and compassion within yourself. There's an old saying that says that we are here on this earth to see each other. And I would add to that we are here on this earth to see each other through. To see each other through the challenges, through the tough times, through whatever may come our way in this experience in life. This past week, Hurricane Zeta, a late October hurricane, spun up really quickly off the coast of Mexico and made landfall near New Orleans and the Mississippi Gulf and made a beeline for North Georgia. When Zeta reached the Georgia border, she was still a tropical storm, bearing winds of 60 miles an hour and torrential heavy rain. All across the upper half of Georgia, trees that had stood strong and tall for decades, maybe centuries, could not withstand the force of those winds, especially hardwoods that were still heavily laden with their leaves, and their roots were soaked from over 5 to 8 inches of rain in a very short period of time. That left hundreds of thousands of people without electricity. The Volker household was no exception. We were off the grid for 63 hours. I did not know that if I was going to be able to be here with you live this morning. Our power was thankfully restored last night at 8 p.m. My husband and I are campers. My husband has been a camper his entire life, and when we married, he led me into learning that skill and that lifestyle. So we are survivors. Give me a cast iron skillet and a hot grill, and I can fix you dinner. Luckily, we also have a small portable generator as part of our camping equipment, and that kept our refrigerator and freezer cold. We had oil lamps and flashlights, and we managed. For us, it was an inconvenience, but it was not life-threatening by any means. A very large oak tree over 80 feet tall fell in our backyard across a power line that took out this portion of the grid. And thankfully, we count our blessings that tree fell away from the house and not toward the house. There were many others that were in more drastic need, and once Rick had taken care of our immediate needs and hooked up our generator to the freezer and refrigerator, he went to help other people more elderly and in more need than we were. I'm so proud of that caring and sharing side of him. Far too many people have experienced terrible times this year. 2020 has become a curse word. Who even wants to utter this year? But what I have found is that out of terrible times, more so, than ordinary times we see heroes emerge. Now, of course, villains also emerge in times of crisis and when people are vulnerable, but I choose to focus on the heroes that are emerging, the helpers that step up to assist those and lighten the burden of others. As we enter this month of gratitude, we look toward Thanksgiving with broken hearts and minds, and we look toward Thanksgiving knowing that so many are looking in that direction with broken hearts and minds and bodies. It is in the difficult times that we can find comfort from Scripture. Psalm 23 is one of the most beloved Psalms, and it is definitely a great psalm for difficult times. Verses 5 and 6 read, "You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life." This morning, I remind you that a table has been set for you. In the midst of your difficulties and your adversities, a large table of many offerings has been set specifically for you. It's God's table. And you have an open invitation to come and sit. When you think about that table that is prepared for you in the midst of whatever is happening in your life, what is on that table? What do you see when you look at that table? Is it filled with bowls of dissension and worry and despair? What about a platter of broken dreams? Is there a gravy boat of fear waiting to be ladled onto whatever your experience is? Or is that table filled with bowls of caring, hope, kindness, compassion, brotherly and sisterly love, an optimistic view, a willingness to give of yourself? Diana Butler Bass gives us a view of God's table in her book, Grounded. She writes, "No one owns the table. No one gets to take it over. We receive this table. It is a gift from heaven to earth. And our job is to pull up more chairs and to make sure all are fed." Diana's words remind us that God is with us always. The opportunity to sit at God's table is with us always. And that part of that experience of joining the table is recognizing that the Spirit of God is alive in all people. All people have the ability, whether they use it or not, to connect to the divine within them. As you and I sit at God's table, it is our responsibility to pull up more chairs, to make invitations, and to make sure that all people in our immediate circles know that they have the opportunity to come and sit at God's table. The world that we live in is truly a gift. We can find a lot of reasons to discuss or debate what's wrong with our world, but that's not my point today. My point is to remind you to look for what is right with our world, what is right with your world, your immediate world. A group of students came to their teacher and they said, Rebbe, we are puzzled. It says in the Talmud that we are to thank God as much for the bad days as we do for the good days. And how can that be? What would our gratitude mean if we gave it equally for the bad days as we would for the good days? The Rebbe replied, go to Anapol. Reb Souza will have an answer for you. The students undertook the journey, and arriving at Anapol, they inquired as to where they could find Reb Souza. And they searched in the city. And finally, they found him on the poorest street in the city. Between two small houses was a tiny shack that was very dilapidated from age and lack of care, and appeared to be in danger of falling down. They entered the door, and Reb Souza was sitting at a bare table, and he said, come in, welcome, strangers. There on the bare table was a volume of spiritual work that he was reading through the light, by the light of the one window in his little shack. Reb Souza says, pardon me that I do not stand. I have hurt my leg. Would you like some nourishment? I have a little bread and there's water. But the students said, no, we have come only to ask you one question. Our Rebbe told us that you could help. We cannot understand, why do the sages tell us to be grateful for the bad days as much as we are grateful to God for the good days? Reb Souza sits back and laughs. Me? Well, I have no idea why your Rebbe sent you to me. He shook his head with puzzlement and he said, you see, I have never had a bad day. Every day is a blessing from God. This is a profound story. Rabbi Souza was a Hasidic teacher in the late 18th century, and he lived in great poverty, yet he lived his whole life with gratitude. And that was because he desired nothing beyond what he had. He felt such humbleness to even be alive and to experience God's grace in his life that he did not present a long list of wishes and wants. Knowing what we now know that happened to the future generations of Hasidic Jews, the question of gratitude in the face of horrific tragedy becomes even more difficult. How does a Holocaust survivor or the families of Holocaust survivors live in gratitude after the experience that they felt and went through? Thanksgiving and the month of Thanksgiving is typically a time when we look for gratitude in our hearts for the lives that we have. How do you look at your world and express gratitude and thanksgiving for the good days and the bad days equally, all together? When we think about giving of our thanks to the Creator for our harvest, I want to encourage you this month to think beyond just the food that's on your table, but to think about all of the great things in your life for which you can be thankful. I'm thankful today to be able to join you with electricity and internet. I was grateful this morning to have a hot shower in my own home. Grateful to sleep last night with heat in my house. I have just had a brief reminder of how wonderful our lives are and how many conveniences and luxuries that we live in. Have you ever thought about all the luxuries and conveniences that you have and what a small amount of time in the span of all humanity that those conveniences and luxuries have been available? We are truly living in a time when we have so much to be thankful for. People have expressed to me in the weeks and the months of this year how overwhelmed and powerless that they feel in the face of personal loss and personal challenge. Many people are challenged to continue their work at this time because of COVID. Students are challenged to be able to continue their education. Parents are worried about their children being able to get that education. There is a lot of concern about social justice in our world and how we can make that better, how it can show up. The justice side can show up greater than the injustice side. So many opportunities to present worry and concern to our lives. Psychologists estimate that people are feeling much more anxiety in their lives than they may have ever felt in their entire lifetimes. So I ask you this morning, what does it feel like to acknowledge that you are surrounded by miracles, even when there seems to be no end to conflict? What does it feel like to be surrounded by miracles, even when you must come to terms with the loss of a loved one? What does it mean to be grateful when you are awakened at 3 a.m. with feelings of fear and despair and discouragement? Who should you be grateful to, and for what will you be grateful? I'm sure you've heard of the phrase, bring it on. I imagine when Jesus was walking the planet in his ministry, that in his heart and mind, he had that attitude. Bring it on. Bring on your illness. Bring on your disease. Bring on your pain. Bring on your suffering. Bring on your fear. Bring on whatever is wrong. To the point that he even in his mind said, bring on death. Bring it on. Jesus never healed anyone by shaming them, or he did not look at them with disgust or fear. When he looked at them, he saw beyond their humanness, and he saw the Christ within them. And he called that forth, and that's what healed them. He taught of acceptance and unconditional love. Acceptance and unconditional love, and those are two of the most powerful energies in all of creation. When I talk about acceptance, I'm not talking about acquiescing or letting someone get away with something. When you accept a situation or someone, you're not saying that you condone their behavior or that you agree with the situation or the actions of a particular person or a group. Acceptance happens when you and I can look at a condition or a circumstance without judgment and criticism. Let me say that again. Acceptance happens when you and I can look at a condition or a circumstance without judgment or criticism. It's when we're willing to put on God glasses and see through kinder eyes. This is when we see past the humanness that we have to deal with every day in this earthly walk, and we can find a wellspring of compassion within us in this lifetime. Acceptance is different from approval. If you only take away one thing today, take that with you. Acceptance is different than approval. In the 12-step recovery programs, when an individual states, I am an alcoholic, or I am an addict, they are not giving their power to that disease, much to the contrary of some people's misunderstanding. What the addict is doing is accepting, they're taking an honest, non-judgmental look at their lives and at the conditions that they have created in their lives by the actions that they have taken. And once they are able to see clearly where they are and who they are and the impact of the choices that they've made, then they can make different choices. Then they are able to apply the 12 steps to their lives. And this process is not just something that they read about or they repeat in their program circles, but it is actually something that they live. And those who participate in 12-step programs, who live those steps, actually live them in their lives, they experience great transformation. And they're able to find self-love and compassion within themselves. See, to make change, to fully recover from whatever might be wrong, an addict or an alcoholic must be able to love themselves first. And then they can love others. And then they can demonstrate that love for others in appropriate ways. This is a huge part of the healing process. And many people have been lifted out of devastation and into happier, healthier lives because of these programs. Tina Turner once said, "The real power behind whatever success I may have experienced is something that I found within myself. Something that I think is in all of us," she says. "A little piece of God just waiting to be discovered." At a previous time in my life, I served on the board of trustees of a community center in the small town where Rick and I lived in Ohio. And this community center served several free meals each month to the public. People would come, people who may have been economically challenged. They may have had physical, mental, or emotional difficulties. They may just have had a streak of bad luck, so to speak. They were at a low point in their lives. Some were just lonely and needed to be in community. Long tables would be set up and food would be offered. And strangers would come together and share a meal. And over that time that they were there, where they sat and ate, they would also go into discussion and conversation, and they would talk about what was happening in their lives. They would talk about current events. They would talk about their challenges and their problems. And they'd talk about their families or the lack thereof. Those people who sat at the table and shared their meal, somehow that sharing always fed them more than the actual food did. I always thought that the people who took their meals to go missed a golden opportunity for connection and support. The tables in our kitchens, in our dining rooms, in our churches, in our community centers, on the softball field, in a picnic setting. This is where the weary come. We feed the hungry. We practice habits of kindness. We have an opportunity to grow our compassion. We have an opportunity at the table to grow our ability to be God's love and compassion alive and active on this planet. We gain experience wearing God's glasses. This is where we can extend mercy and goodness. The psalmist said, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life." This was not a request of the psalmist, but rather this is an affirmation. This is an affirmation of our legacy. This is where we affirm a way of living, a way to share that love and acceptance and declare that we are seeing through God glasses and discovering, or maybe remembering, that place within us where God dwells. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me. Let's ponder that. If you have a condition or a circumstance or a person in your life that is troubling you, I invite you to bring that situation to mind right now, right in this moment. Let's take time to pause and turn within. I invite you to close your outer eyes and open your inner eyes and become willing to see through God glasses. No matter what the situation is in your life, no matter how troubling or how bad it may feel, reach deep down into your heart space. What would be the most loving thing that you could do today around this issue, this circumstance, or this person? What would be the most loving thing that you could do right now, today, around this situation, circumstance, or person? As you soften your breath and trust God to lead you and guide you in the privacy of your own mind, invite whatever is wrong to pull up a chair to God's table. Imagine that you and God sit together as one at the head of the table. And you are offering sustenance and support to whatever is wrong. In this moment, you no longer wait for some outside circumstance to change. No person or no circumstance has to change in order for you to sit at God's table, in order for you to feel better about your life. Nothing outside of you has to change before you feel that love and compassion within you. You and God as one sit at the head of the table. And you choose to pull up another seat and share God's goodness. You offer a bowl of compassion, of generosity, of understanding, and of love. Let's pause for a moment of silence as you enjoy the bounty at God's table. Divine Spirit, your goodness that overflows in our lives brings us more joy than we can express. As we begin this month of gratitude and thanksgiving, we accept your love and compassion into our hearts and into our minds. We allow ourselves to be transformed at depth. We agree with Rev Zeta that every day is a gift from you. Every day is a blessing. And we allow our hearts to be filled up, our energies to be restored, our consciousness to rise above all distress. We trust that you are alive and active in every living thing on this planet. From this place of gratitude and thanksgiving, we release our cares. We turn them over to you. And we begin to come back to this time and space, ready to move forward, nourished, renewed, and refreshed. With gratitude, we allow it to be, and so it is. Amen. An ancient tradition talks about the last days of an evangelist named John in Turkey. He was nearing 100 years old. His body had become weak and frail. He was unable to stand for long periods of time and make his great speeches. His following really wanted to stay connected with him. So those who cared about him would carry him to different meetings of the faithful. And there at those meetings, he would deliver this message. Little children, love one another. For many months, even years, this was his message. And a disciple asked him, "Teacher, why do you never say anything else?" And John's response was, "Do this, my child. Love one another, and that is enough." As we enter into this beautiful month of gratitude, my prayer for you, Unity of Charlotte, is that it is indeed a month of Thanksgiving, and that your gratitude is not dependent on anything outside of you. That your gratitude is not dependent on anything outside of you. Not today, not Tuesday, not next week. When you sit at God's table and look through God's glasses, you are filled with God's love and compassion. And then you will have so much to be thankful for that you will have entered heaven's gates. Thank you for allowing me to be with you this morning, to remind you to come and sit at God's table. And this is an opportunity in our service when we want to share our financial love and keep these services and Unity of Charlotte financially strong and healthy. I can share my screen. Yay! Get to the right spot. Because we are not meeting in person, you can send your love gifts to Unity of Charlotte at 401 East Arrowwood Road. The zip is 28217. Or you can go onto unity.org and make your donation through the secured site there. I'd like to invite you to take your gift this morning, or the intention of your gift, and hold it over your heart, your credit card, or your checkbook, or whatever might be handy, or just your open palm of love. And let's repeat our prosperity blessing. Please say it out loud wherever you are. Repeat it with passion and purpose. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. That indeed covers it all, doesn't it? All that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you so much for your financial commitment to Unity of Charlotte. And we'll close now with our prayer for protection. Just extend your hands and lift them as we say together, the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. I declare that that is so for you in all the circumstances of your life, that all is well. I'm Reverend Robin Volker. I'll be with you right after this service on Zoom. Thank you for being with me today. God bless and namaste.